Hello everyone and welcome to the Hobby Guard. In today's video I will present to you my argument of why the upcoming Owlcat Games Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy is gonna be an amazing game. In fact, why you are not prepared for how good of a game, how good of an experience it's gonna be. Now, this video is not sponsored because, as you can tell by my subscriber count, this channel is too young to probably worth doing any sponsorships on for now. But that being said, both the universe of Warhammer 40,000, the writers at Black Library and Games Workshop, and Owlcat Games themselves have paid me in the past in some kind. They have paid me with experiences. They have paid me with joy and many an hour of escapism and just exploring the depths of this fictional world that is so full of enjoyment. So that's the main reason that I want to sell this game to you, because I did play Owlcat's last Warhammer game, Rogue Trader. I'm actually still playing it because it's like so massive, it's amazing, and I just love to immerse myself into this game. So regardless of whether you are maybe not into CRPGs, but you are into Warhammer, or maybe you are into Warhammer, or the other way around, sorry, you are into CRPGs but not into Warhammer, or the other way around. I don't know which one I said first. I am very tired. Or maybe you're not into either, but perhaps you like good old mystery thrillers and some good old crime thriller stories. I will relate to you why I think this game will be a great choice for you to at least try out. Now, before we dive into the main topic of the video, I do have to make a couple of disclaimers. I missed a few videos this past week for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I lost a very good friend. Unfortunately, it seems like he might have made the decision himself to end things, and this was especially hurtful because this was a friend who was there for me when I needed him the most without asking anything, and he would just have me over at his place when I was struggling and he was doing well, and we would watch movies, play games. We loved video games. We were playing Destiny 2 and other video games as well, and we would just have pizza and have a blast. And it was extremely hurtful because this is when I used to live back in the States, and I haven't seen him in many years, and we've barely spoken in these past few years. But if he had reached out, or if I had reached out to him, regardless, I mean, I cannot blame myself, right? Because I wasn't his only friend. I wasn't his closest friend. But if he had reached out in his time of need, I would have told him what I told everyone else about him, that he was the coolest guy that I had ever known, and that I was there for him no matter what, as he was for me in the past. So I say all of this to say, if any of you, we all know life gets hard. I think this presents itself in all sorts of different circles, social circles, or no matter what you're into in life. But I think in the hobby world, this presents itself in a specific way where people who are really into our hobbies, we are often using it, as I said, as escapism, and we sometimes feel unworthy because we're measuring ourselves by the demands of the world, by the demands of society. And for us, hobbies are a safe space, and I don't say that in like the woke kind of safe space, but they're an actual safe space for our mind. They're the actual spaceship through which we can navigate this very complex reality that we inhabit, and it's where we're happy and it's where we make friends. So unfortunately, it's not the first time that I come around a story as sad as this one did hit especially hard. So please reach out to your friends, do your best. If you're a bit like me, you're a bit of a hermit, you like to go out into the mountains and just stop talking to your friends for a while because, we retreat into our own little world. I'm certainly guilty of that. But if you're like me, just keep in mind, reach out to your friends now and then. And if you're ever struggling, then as well, reach out to anyone, because it's never worth it. it's never worth it. The world lost an amazing person, and it's not fair. The other reason, that being said, before we dive into the topic of the video, the other reason why I've been so busy as of late is because this little shark here that's biting me. Hold on, I'll put him closer to the camera. There you go. Say hi. I got a new family member. His name is Gimli. He's my second dog. I had another dog called Runa, which you've likely heard in my other videos. So yeah, Gimli is gonna be making appearances in the channel. But as you can see, he is very small. He's very puny, and he's absolutely vicious. He loves to bite everything. He's been chewing through my headphones this whole time. So yeah, I will appreciate some patience just while we acclimate ourselves. Also, we are moving to a different place soon. So anyways, I will do my best to keep up with my video schedule, uploading as much as I can and as often as I can. But again, just a disclaimer, if you're someone who's starting to follow the channel, whatever, you're not sure, like, oh, is this guy really serious about YouTube? I am, I promise you. It's just life. There's been a lot going on in life, but this channel for me is very special, like to demonstrate to people, to share with people what I'm talking about, my safe space, my safe hobby escapism space. And I want to create this space not just for myself, because I've done that my whole life, but for other people as well. So any sort of interaction, comments, likes, whatever, or if you just like to watch the videos, I don't want you to lose hope if you see me stop posting now and then. I just want to keep working hard at it, but I do have my hands full at the moment with this little piranha. He's very cute though, isn't he? So now let's actually talk about Dark Heresy and why I think we're not ready for how great of a game it's gonna be. Well, first of all, we have seen before what Owlcat Games are capable of in terms of the universe of Warhammer. Basically, the game Rogue Trader is an encyclopedia of Warhammer lore that you can just dive in. It's full of stories. It's like if you grab an omnibus of short stories and sometimes like books, if you take into account the overarching narrative, but you get to tell your own story in so many ways. It has so many choices. Actually, in the game, the game run that I'm making right now, because roleplay is obviously, it's a classic RPG. Roleplay is a huge aspect of this game. But if you're into Warhammer lore, oh, you're gonna love this. For example, as I was saying, if you've been following the channel, you know I love like deep in, full-on autistic role-playing, like thinking about like, okay, will my character actually do this? I know I really want that weapon, but would my character go ahead and fulfill that quest just to get that weapon? Probably not, right? So my character is this former commissar who is I am dealing with Xenos in the game because I am faking to be an iconoclast, kind of. But just because this commissar is learning the ropes on this new world and this entire new area of the gray morals that are the rogue traders and the entire world that they are exposed to, this entirely new side of the Imperium that he wasn't necessarily aware of before, because commissars are raised in the Schola Progenium. Is that how you say it? Progenium? Anyways. And, they are very cut and dry. They are very, very straight edged their whole life because that's their job, right? So this commissar finds himself in a situation where he can do a lot of good, but he realizes that a lot of evil, disgusting things are going on in the background, and so he plays undercover. So I do have Xenos allies that I will totally get rid of at some point. Once I get the most out of them, I will hand them out to the Inquisition, because it is something you can do. There is a Psyker ally that I am keeping a very close eye on, and I am pretending to be her friend because she has history in the ship that I am now commanding. So she has skills that come in handy. But I do have always the choice to send her over to the commissar, and I did have a romance with a criminal, a woman, almost smuggler or pirate, I think she was. And as soon as I got what I needed out of her, not the romance, mind you, that was just something that it had to be done, okay? Do not question me, it had to be done. It was part of the mission. I just handed her over to the authorities, so to speak. So the games offered you like, and these are actual companions that we can interact through with the entire game. So interact with through the entire game. And you get to choose their own fate, not only your own fate. So it is amazing. It is literally like diving into a book, a Warhammer book, and telling your own story. Now, that's the past game, right? How is this one different? Well, I want to show you guys a quick trailer, the reveal trailer, just to get everyone in the mood and the theme of this new universe that we are diving into. So I'm just gonna play this and I'll let it run. Huge props, by the way, for the 2D animation trailers. These are amazing.
The Imperium is torn asunder.
And the music in these games is wild too.
Hour, we are besieged on all fronts.
So, let me pause it real quick.
From within.
That guy with the armor that you saw walking earlier, my friends, is an Inquisitor. Now, if you're not too much into Warhammer lore, I assume everyone knows what an Inquisitor is, but it's basically similar to the Church Inquisitors from few centuries past, but they just wield an enormous amount of power. They work for different holy ordos. There's the Ordo Sinos, there's the Ordo Malleus, and there's the Ordos Hereticus, sorry, I struggle with pronunciation, but there's the Ordos Hereticus. So these are basically different orders, and they have different sub-factions and so on, but they are extremely powerful individuals. Now, we will not ourselves play as an Inquisitor. We will play as an Acolyte to said Inquisitor. I don't even think we're an Interrogator yet, so we're basically working for the Inquisition. We are aspiring to become like higher ranked in the Inquisition, but we are only part of the Inquisitorial retinue, and not even yet. We have our own group of operatives that we will be working beside. So we will get to choose the backstory of our character to an extent, and we will get to choose from different archetypes, but part of our companions will also have very diverse backstory. So right there, you can see on the right corner, lower corner, Katachan Jungle Fighter. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. These are basically the most badass guardsmen that you can find out there. If you've ever watched the movie Predator, they're basically based off of the guys in the first Predator movie. And on the left, you can see a Medicus, or a Medicae. She's a student of medicine, of science, but she's probably turned into some pretty gnarly, ugly stuff if she ended up involved with the Inquisition, because that's the thing about the Inquisition. The world of Warhammer is ruled by very, very strict rules of conduct and thought, and very tyrannical, I don't want to say like fascist, because not everything about it is fascistic, but yeah, very tyrannical rules. But the Inquisition operates often in a gray area. So there are, if you've ever read the Eisenhorn books or the Ravenor books, I've read them. I think they're amazing. And this portion of the video, by the way, is for people who are into Warhammer lore. But perhaps you're not into like playing as an Inquisitor. Maybe you're just more into like the Space Marine lore and the huge action pieces. Well, let me tell you, there's plenty of action to be found. But also, sometimes the action feels more impactful and more high stakes even than the Astartes or the Space Marine battles, because the characters are so much more vulnerable, and yet they are facing threats that are often a lot less evident, a lot more subtle, but they are putting strength together. They are like joining the dots about the plans of the enemy. In fact, often by the time the Space Marines are called into battle, they are working off of the intelligence gathered by the Inquisitors and their operatives. So it is all very interesting stuff. It is all very important work. But another thing that stood out for me from the Eisenhorn and Ravenor books is that you get to see the underground of the Warhammer universe, of the Imperium. And by underground, I don't mean only like criminals and so on, but just like your daily average Joe who's just trying to go on with their day-to-day life. Just your random person. You get to interact a lot more with that. And it just makes the world feel so much richer. And the best part is that Owlcat is making this game, because you know that they are gonna pad it out with so much cool stuff, so much details, just like they did in Rogue Trader. For example, Rogue Trader, I compare it to an encyclopedia because there's walls of text sometimes, because you can skip certain like a lot of the dialogue options, but if you actually stop by and read through them, they are very rich in lore. And in fact, they often have like these highlighted texts or words that you can click on to learn even more lore about them. So I actually ended up learning in that game, I've read like dozens, probably over 100 books in the Warhammer universe. I learned stuff that I didn't know about just by like clicking and reading more. So while I'm playing that game, I'm almost playing an interactive book in which I get to tell my own story. And that by itself is just amazing. I've already talked about the awesome role-playing potential, but let's just keep watching this trailer.
My enemies from without.
Okay, we're gonna have an Ogryn companion. Ogrins are humans that they mutated in a very low gravity world, or would it be? Sorry, very high gravity world. So they develop this massive bone density and muscle density, and they are just hulking ogres of humans. And they are not the smartest, not the brightest, but they are tolerated to serve the Imperium as humans, as kind of like second-class citizens within the Imperium itself, which is like, it's like whatever. Almost everyone is a second-class citizen in the Imperium, but because of the value that they offer, and anything ranging from like construction to mining to military operations, because they are the best type of brawn in any mission. Now those are Kroot. We can also have a Kroot companion, but the Kroot are a very cool Xenos faction. They delve into all sorts of dark rituals involving cannibalism and so on, but they are amazingly skilled. Usually mercenaries, they work often a lot together with the Tau, and we are going to have a chance to work with a Kroot companion. Now, there is precedence in the lore, quite a bit of it actually, of Inquisitors who use operatives who are Xenos, and that is because they find the value in them. So Inquisitors, again, they stand from such a different high point than everyone else in the Imperium that they get to look down. Not to say that they are magnanimous, objectively moral figures. Like, some of them are more than others. Some of them like do amazingly legit good work, but it's always like, it's still Warhammer, right? There's always a lot of bloodshed, even if when you're trying to do the right thing. But some of them certainly go rogue. Some of them go to the bad side even. Some of the coolest Warhammer villains have in the past been Inquisitors, and I have to say, it just has to be said, some of the lamest as well. But there's this cliche of like, oh, Inquisitor equals bad. He's just a mean guy, he's pompous, he thinks he knows better. And yeah, most of the time, but not always. Sometimes like people forget how necessary they are to the current functioning of the Imperium, and to unraveling like the worst catastrophes that have ever not happened before they didn't happen, right? So they unravel the plans of the enemy before they come to pass. Often, not always, unfortunately. But what I was gonna say is that they have such a privileged point of view on the rest of the Imperium, on the rest of the galaxy, that they get to make different types of moral choices, whereas the rest of the galaxy will be like, no, absolutely every Xenos is disgustingly bad, and every sentient species that is not human is an aberration. An Inquisitor has the guile, the maturity of mind to be like, whoa, wait. Some of these guys are very useful for the survival of humanity, and cooperation is a tool as well. Just like me, my former commissar in Rogue Trader is cooperating with a disgusting, filthy elder.
Still, no matter the cost, we must persevere. Every blade must be turned to our defense. Every soul, every dark secret.
Now, those guys that we saw there, those Space Marines, these are... I mean, I'm assuming if you're watching this video, a lot of you already know this, but these are the Night Lords. Now, the Night Lords are the lowest of the low of the Trader Space Marine. They are Space Marines who literally, they get their kick out of producing terror in their victims, producing pain in their victims, not because like, oh, they are so given into chaos. Some of them are. Some are more aligned with chaos than others. But the fact of the matter is that since the Horus Heresy, since their very start, the Night Lords have been basically terror troops. They are terrorists, not terrorists, but terror special. Oh, there goes all my... the algorithm just demolished my video with that word. They are like terror special forces, so to speak. And when they go traitor, well, they just become that much worse. And I think they're going to be the perfect antagonist. They're not going to be, obviously, the only antagonist for this video game. I almost say for this book, but I got to remind myself, it's a video game. They are almost going to be... they are going to be the perfect antagonist for this video game because of their style of fighting. For example, different Trader Legions have different objectives and they have different ways of operating, right? We know that, for example, the Word Bearers are sometimes very smart about how they go about things. They lie a lot, they plan a lot, they scheme a lot, but they're also very fanatical, and all of their plans usually involve doing cooperating in some form of way with chaos to advance the agenda of chaos. Now, the Night Lords are kind of different from that, right? They have their own agenda, so to speak. Then you have the Core Knight Space Marines. Traditionally, those will be world eaters, but all sorts of Khorne Berserker Space Marines. Well, they're just in it for the violence, right? So they wouldn't be like such a good opponent for this video game because they're just there to kick ass and we're just normal humans for the most part in this game. So how are they going to stand against a horde of ravaging Space Marine Berserkers? They won't. But the Night Lords, they operate in the shadows. Their domain is subtlety, is subterfuge, and then they strike for maximum effect to create the most amount of terror, pain, and devastation imaginable. So if they are involved, we know that this will be a very dark story, that this will be an opponent that will be very hard to nail down, very hard to track, very hard to find. And that is interesting because this is basically a detective story. So we will watch another trailer after this. Oh, this video is already too long. Maybe only this one. Maybe I'll sometime talk more about the gameplay. But there is another gameplay trailer where we get to see a little of how we are going to be joining the dots in our investigations, and we're going to have to come to conclusions. And sometimes we won't even know whether we made the right choice or not, whether that guy that we executed for being a traitor, because we suspected them of being a traitor, was actually a traitor. And sometimes the evidence that we gather won't necessarily prove 100% which action we should make. So we have to make those choices, and that will have an effect. So this sort of noir, almost detective story that we're going to be having, where at least some of our antagonists are going to be some of the most terrifying characters to ever be written in Warhammer lore, has me very excited.
Our defense, every soul, every dark secret. For if we fail, all will fall into the damnation of eternal night.
I am so excited about this game. And you can see there, this game is clearly going to take us into Hive cities, probably different locations. But there is clearly a bigger, looming, more terrifying, almost cosmic in scope and nature threat. Again, just looming above our heads. So we're not entirely sure what it's going to be about. We don't know too much of the story, and I don't really want to know too much yet. I want to find out as my character learns about it. So yes, I'm incredibly intrigued about this game. Again, not only for the gameplay, but I guess I should talk a bit about the gameplay because, well, there is a gameplay video. I guess I could play some of it in the background. So yeah, that's some of the gameplay. I got it slowed down just so you can take a look at what actually the models, the in-game models, will look like. This is only alpha footage, so this does not reflect the finished product. But it's a CRPG, so if you've played other CRPGs, you know to an extent how this one works. And I understand that there's going to be a lot of similarities to Rogue Trader, but it won't necessarily be the same system. But the main thing about this is that the combat is incredibly engaging. In any case, it's the case for any CRPG that I've played. I'm not a huge CRPG guy, by the way. I've only played a few. But it is... Oh, that's like the investigation reports that I was talking about. That looks so cool. Tell me you don't see that and you're like, oh man, I want to be that guy, putting those reports together and like connecting the dots. But anyways, it is very engaging. It's always like hard at first, but once you get to learn the system, once you understand what stats do what, and how to integrate your party, like with what different members you can integrate your party, and often there is even lore just in the development of certain skills, right? So the way it works is just like any CRPG. I guess I shouldn't be too redundant for the sake of your time. But often the way it works, again, going back to the example of my commissar. What skills did I give my commissar? Well, I didn't make him a sniper, right? Because what kind of coward commissar would stand in the back? No, a commissar needs to be in the front lines, just behind his guardsmen, right? So I gave him abilities with a handgun and a chainsword, and I think I gave him a shotgun too, because they do come in handy. But, very commissar-like, very bravado kind of thing. And how you level up those abilities is also telling the type of story about your character. There's this other character that I integrate into my group, and she's part of this amazing death cult. This is part of the DLC, just so you know, for Rogue Trader. And she has different abilities where she can like draw blood from herself or draw blood from others to get different buffs and so on. And that is very radical in many ways, and that also tells a story. So what you choose to level up is also part of the story. How you choose to play is also a part of the story. And I don't know enough about this system to get into all the ins and outs about it just yet, but I would love to make some videos in the future. That being said, I'm not like a meta gamer. If you've watched my videos before, I'm all about the lore and the roleplay. So that's probably what I will focus on. But with that being said, I just want to talk more about this game, but I don't want this video to be so long that it's completely unwatchable. So now, please let me know in the comments down below whether I've sold you on playing this game in any way, whether there's anything else that you would like to know about it. I just thought I would share some of my thoughts of why I'm so excited about this game, and I think we should be seeing probably a next year release. I think that's perhaps being optimistic, or a late 2026 release, but I'll look more into that for you as well. I did hear that maybe there was some delay, some tests being run. There's gonna be alpha tests, so yeah, you can probably apply for that. I don't even have the time to do that, to be honest, to get the most out of it at least. But yeah, I'll leave that information with you guys and gals. Now let me know please in the comments down below, what are your opinions on this type of game? Have you tried CRPG games? Do you like mystery thriller games? Do you don't like either but just like Warhammer lore? Are you willing to give this a shot and just try it as the amazing story that it has the potential to tell. So with that being said, if you would like to watch more videos like this, please subscribe. And if you like this video, please throw me a like. If you hated this video, share it to the person who you like the least, just so they can waste their time. And with that being said, ad astra, and remember, there are no female custodies.